Hey guys, welcome. This is our first episode, and I'm Travis, and this is Johanna.
Hi guys. Yeah, so good to have you with us. We're super excited just to share a little bit more out of our lives. We want to take you back to the beginning of how we grew up and just the different influences we've had in our life and what that did in our lives and the decisions we made. So we want to share with you just, openly and honestly what how our lives were before we met each other, and hope it will be an encouragement for you, something that you can connect with. Maybe you can start. Tell us a little bit about
how I grew up. I grew up in a really good family, I would say. We definitely did not have Jesus as the center. So the way we saw the world was totally different than most Christians. I definitely was raised with parents that allowed us to do a little bit more than most.
They were the party house.
We were the
block.
We were the party house. Let's not get to that yet. That's high school. We still have elementary and how it all got started. For me, I was raised in a house where we watched a lot of movies, and as you know, this was back in the 80s, so movies were starting to get a lot more sexualized. The way they saw dating, the way they saw relationships, the way they saw marriage was totally different than the way the Bible sees it.
And that's pretty much where you got your picture of like marriage and dating and what that even looks like.
Yeah, well, a lot of it was not only the movies, but it was the music that I listened to. Growing up with R&B, hip hop, and rap, you're in this world of, a woman is just nothing but a trophy, right? This idea, like, let's see how much we can get out of her, and for our own satisfaction. So that's kind of the way it grew up, and kind of trickled into, elementary school, where the first thing is like, how far did you go with her? What did you do? Are you guys dating? Did you kiss? Did you do that? And I'm like, man, I haven't even held her hand yet. Like, what's this kissing stuff? So that it's kind of like this whole push. Guys get together and just pushing each other to see how far you can go. And back in the days, it was a little different. It wasn't, kids are just watching a lot more crazier stuff nowadays than they were back in the days when I was there. So holding hands was a big deal. Like, oh, you held her hand. Like, wow, that's awesome. Little story, I remember I was on the bus one time and I was interested in this girl, and I don't know if we were dating or whatever you called it. You don't really know what you're doing at 6th grade, so it's kind of whatever. And I reached over and stuck my hand, put it right on top of her hand, and I felt like a champ. I was like, yes! I grabbed her hand and I am holding her hand, and this is awesome.
I can tell my friends tomorrow.
Trophy. And then it gets into junior high. Yeah. You start, hanging out with girls and dating, or whatever you want to call it at that age. And, it's like, hey, did you kiss her yet? And it's like, I don't even know what a kiss is. Like, I've seen it on TV, but I wouldn't even know how to start. And so it's that whole pressure of, hey, are you going to kiss her? Are you going to kiss her? And it's like every single day that question with your friends comes up. Did you kiss her? Did you kiss her? Are you going to kiss her? Yeah. And for me, my first kiss was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just going to reach up and try to reach over and give her a kiss. And my first kiss wasn't very good. I remember getting made fun of from my friends for ages. I probably still get made fun of if they have that conversation. But that's what it is. It's like this idea of like how far you're going to go with a girl. And when you're not centered in Christ, as I wasn't growing up in that type of family, it's all just how much, what can you do with them, how much you can get out of it, how much you can brag with your friends, and then you move into high school and it just, starts escalating from there and there. And it's like, how far are you going to go? Like, now everybody's talking about sex and like, have you slept with her yet? And, so there's that pressure constantly just to do things that you're like,
So what did your parents say to all of that? Like, did you guys have that conversation at home?
No, we didn't have the birds and the bees conversation at all. I think with my mom, I just remember hearing this idea is like, I'm not ready to be a grandmother, so if you have sex, make sure you wear your raincoat type thing, and don't bring home a child. That was the extent of it. Not don't do it, but just be safe if you're going to go out there and be protected. Wear your raincoat, kids. That's what I remember.
Right.
But yeah, so there's that battle, that challenge of not letting your friends down, but also like the conversations. Like, again, when you're listening to hip hop and R&B, everything's about money, sex, drugs.
It's a huge influence,
It's a huge influence, and how graphic it really was at that time. You kind of want to like try it out, because that's like the culture. Like, okay, well, let's try this, let's try that. They're rapping about this and rapping about that. So it really is a challenge to live in that environment and not go far.
Right.
So it's easy to be like, oh, well, everybody else is doing it. Like, this is the norm. My friends have done it. I've had, older brothers that, would talk about certain things, and I'd have older brothers' friends that would talk about even more things. So it's kind of like the norm. Like, it's okay. Like, if you're dating, or even if you're not dating, like, how many women can you sleep with?
Right.
Praise God, for me, early enough, I had kind of given my life to Jesus, and I kind of heard this idea of saving it for marriage. So that's kind of what, I wanted to do, although there's so much pressure to not do it. And, you start to be challenged, I guess, not to fall into it. One, for me, like, I guess what really scared me was this idea of like STDs. There's a whole bunch of conversation going about like, well, if you sleep with somebody, you're going to get AIDS, you're going to get, whatever the disease is. There's so many diseases. So I think I was scared.
That just kind of
so it's like I didn't want to. I didn't want to go. I had some friends that would just sleep around. I'm like, man, you probably have so many diseases, and I just didn't want to be that guy.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what the challenge was for me. So again, growing up, that was the culture I was raised in. Like, this idea, like, sex is okay. Like, go out and do it. Just be safe.
Try things out.
Try out. Yeah. Try it before you buy it, type thing. That's kind of what it was for me. What about you?
I mean, definitely, I think in school, that whole idea of, try it before you buy it, like, that was definitely a prominent way of thinking. But I did grow up in a Christian household, and my parents, they did talk to us about, about sex, but also about purity and, trying to, like, saving that for marriage. And so that was an idea for me that I grew up with from the beginning, but also like youth group. I had some really solid Christian friends growing up who kind of helped me navigate through, those junior high and high school years of where there was a lot of pressure, pressure to date, pressure to go out and party and all the things. So
your friends were totally opposite. My friends were like, go out and do it, and your friends were like, no, don't do it.
Yeah. So we kind of held each other accountable, which was awesome and super important. I think, like, friendships are a huge influence in our life, and depending on what their values are, that's what's gonna, influence us. So even though high school was full of, temptation and also just a lot of pressure, like you said, I definitely had this idea in my mind that I wanted to date in order to get married, and why would I date, at age 13 if I'm not even planning on getting married anytime soon. But also dating a Christian guy, was definitely part of my, the value that I had. And there just weren't very many Christian guys in my high school. So I definitely paid the price for trying to not date during high school. One of the guys who had asked me out, one of the more popular guys in school, he, when I said no, I think he just must have assumed, like, then you must be gay. Like, there's no way you can not date me and be straight.
I'm the most good-looking guy in the whole school. Like,
Right.
she's got to be a lesbian.
So for the next, I think, 2 years, like, that rumor just stuck, and people just like believed it, you know. So there definitely was a price for, you know, trying to be pure and not give in to temptation, not, you know, go along with the flow of things. And yeah, so, but thankfully, I mean, I think part of it, most of it was my conviction that I didn't want to date and sleep around, but be pure, but also a little fear of my dad. I definitely feared my dad, and what he would say and do. He never really sat down and talked to me about this topic, but he did say, Johanna, if you bring home a guy, like in high school, I will be standing there with a shotgun. Like, that's all he had to say. And I knew it was part joke and part serious, so.
And if you guys don't know, her dad's 6'5", a giant. So I'm sure any guy that you brought home would.
A German giant.
Would have definitely been a little on the scared side.
No, people knew of him. They had never met him, but knew of him. And it's just, yeah, his reputation preceded him, so. Yeah, so that was kind of my high school experience, so.
So you're telling me through your entire high school, you didn't date one guy?
Yeah.
You didn't date one guy, but were you interested in guys?
I was, for sure. I was definitely interested or like attracted to, or, you know, especially when guys should give you attention. I don't know how it is for guys, but for girls, when guys are interested in you, it's like, that's such a flattering thing, especially if you think they're, you know, cute or attractive or fun or whatever. It just is so flattering, and I think it's easy to develop feelings. And when you're a teenager, you're just, you know, I mean, you're interested in people anyways. Like, it just, you're getting to know people, and the whole hormones and all of that is just a new realm of life. And I think it's normal to be interested in people, but I think I still, like, emotionally, that was the emotional side of it. And then, but rationally, I just kept telling myself, like, no, hold out, you know, don't give in to the temptation. Especially since I didn't feel like there was, you know, this guy who really loved Jesus and was following him and was showing interest. We just didn't have a lot of guys.
So what you're saying is I would have not even been on your radar.
No. The party kid, party house on the block kid would not have been.
That was me.
Yeah, no.
Party at the Silvas.
Good thing we didn't meet in high school.
So you're in high school.
Yeah.
And you pretty much kind of knew what you were looking for, though.
Well, I knew that he needed to be a believer, like a Christian, because that was what I was.
Well, uncheck that for me, because I definitely wasn't a believer in high school.
And I think it's like certain qualities, but like I think when you're 16, 17, you know, dark, tall, and handsome, and he loves Jesus, like that was kind of, you know, and we always like the American boys that would come for camps and stuff, like the counselors that would come. We always thought they were really cute. So that was kind of, it wasn't very deep. It wasn't like, you know, I had a great, you know, servant heart or all those things. Those qualities weren't quite on my radar yet.
Gotcha. What about purity? Like, how did you learn about that? You said your parents talked to you a little bit about that. Because nowadays that's not really a topic that's talked about.
I think more so it was a topic that we talked about, like in youth group, or I had a girl who, when I was 14, one of the girls from church, she had just finished Bible college, and she came back after Bible college and asked my friends and I, my two friends and I, if we wanted to do like a discipleship course with her. And so for 1 year, she just took us through the basics of being a Christian, following Christ. What does that look like in your everyday life? And that was also a topic that she touched on, and she talked about guarding your heart and purity. And she herself was dating someone, and they were engaged to get married. And just watching them, I think, and how, they kept themselves for marriage. And I think just some good examples in my life.
So here's the question. Here's the real question, right? Because every guy likes a challenge when they're not walking with Jesus. It's like, okay, she's a virgin. She's, she wants to stay pure. She just doesn't date, hasn't dated.
Right.
So I'm sure there were some guys in your life that's like, I got this.
There were, there maybe one or two in high school that pushed pretty hard for a while. And but I think I just, like I said, I had my eyes focused on my goal, and that I didn't want to just give myself away that way. So,
and for me that was what it is when you're living in the world. You just trying to get as much as you can out of it for selfishness and selfish gain.
But you said that you did hear the concept of saving yourself, which didn't make you sleep around or like date like crazy in high school.
As for me, it was pretty tough trying to be in that environment where everybody's trying to push you to do things. When I was 13, I had a buddy that invited me to church, and that's when I first gave my life to Jesus. And a year later, he died, so it was kind of one of those, I didn't really have much support outside of him. So I kind of fell back into the world and was constantly being challenged. But I think I, at that time, had enough conviction to really think through a lot of things. And I did have a mom that did teach me a lot about respecting women and doing stuff like that. So there was a pastor that talked about saving yourself for marriage, and I just, for some reason, I love that concept, and I just wanted to do that. It was like the big thing. But for me, it's, at a younger age, ended up getting engaged. And
how old were you?
18. I was a youngin'. And I thought I knew everything about marriage, but little did I know, I knew absolutely nothing. And
but you're like, let's just get married.
Yeah.
What was your motivation to get married?
Well,
was it because you were saving yourself for marriage?
Well, that was part of it. You kind of want to push it a little bit faster. Right. One of the motivations, one is I wanted to be the first one to be married in my family. So I was the youngest. I was the first one to get married in my family.
No.
Or the first one to get engaged, yeah. And then the last one to get married, which is a running joke. But anyways, there's a song that just says, we're not getting any younger. Might as well do it. Let's get married.
We're already 18. Come on.
So that was the one thing. I'm like, okay, go get a ring and put a ring on it and, move into it. Yeah. But, that's the story for next time. It just didn't work, and God had a different plan. So, so for me, I did have that conviction of wanting to stay pure. But it was always like, well, how far can you go? Right. Type thing. Yeah. So it was the battle between the world and, my conscience. And that was tough.
And I think like that's going to be for anyone, Christian or non-Christian. You're going to have, I guess for Christians more so, or at least people who've heard of, this whole concept of purity and saving yourself. And that's going to be a struggle, constantly of, do you do this? Do you not do it? Do you go with the flow? Do you not? And purity is definitely something that is actively being destroyed, I think, in people's lives, and something that is worth fighting for.
Yeah, which we are going to talk about a little bit in our next episode. This one's just a little bit about what it was like in high school and elementary, and just kind of our upbringing and what that looked like. But moving forward, we do want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've learned over the years. Some of our experiences. We do want to be raw with you guys and just be real about maybe some of the things that we've done in the past that we've learned from. Because the whole idea is, to grow together. Like, what is it that God has shown us that we can show you guys, in hopes that you guys will be inspired to kind of follow along and kind of do what God's called us to, and see the fruit in it. And from experience, there's a lot of fruit in it. So, we just thank you guys for joining us for this episode. And as we, launch the next one, we'll definitely let you guys know. So make sure you guys do subscribe so that you guys will get a little bell, little ding, 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 whatever it is that says, hey, next one's up. And we do appreciate your time. And
see you next time.
God bless you guys.